Just yesterday, Elizabeth May said that she would support Andrew Scheer in a minority parliament as long as he made concessions on the environment. I talk about why that's a real troubling sign from the Green Party. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. You know, as I've noted on this channel multiple times, the Green Party has never seen such positive polling numbers at the federal level. And there's real hope from a lot of Greens out in Canada, feeling that this is their election to really make a difference. That while they may not form government this time, there's a chance like never before to win multiple seats and actually potentially form the balance of power. So more than ever, people are asking Elizabeth May what she would do with that balance of power. Would she support the Liberals? Would she work with the New Democrats? Would she even work with the Conservatives? And Elizabeth May took a very broad position. Something of a, we'll work with anybody position. And while politicians will often say that, she actually went ahead and singled out the Conservatives, saying we would work with Andrew Scheer and company if they would make concessions on the environment. So she suggested, for instance, that if Andrew Scheer and the Conservative Party were willing to say, save the carbon tax, then maybe she would work with them. Maybe she would give him power in exchange for saving the carbon tax. And Elizabeth May's point, I think, was, look, we're going to play politics in an inclusive manner. If we hold the balance of power, we'll be willing to listen to anybody who shares our environmental values. And beyond that, we're willing to talk. They're willing to do anything but compromise on their climate justice agenda. So a lot of people, maybe they say that and say, well, Elizabeth May, that's good, she's willing to work with anybody. But I find that really troubling. Because the reality is that the flaws of the Conservative Party, they go much deeper and broader than the environment. And even if, and reasonably so, you think that climate change is the defining issue of this election and of our generation, the reality is it's not the only issue. And the reality is that even if you agree that climate change is a major issue, how you approach it is determined in large part by how you approach other issues. So when Elizabeth May says, look, I'll work with Andrew Scheer and the Conservative Party on climate change, and maybe I'll make Andrew Scheer Prime Minister in the process, what does that say to all the other groups of people? What does that say to women who are concerned about their rights? What does that say about Indigenous people who are concerned about their rights? What does that say to working class people who are concerned about their rights? What does it say to people who support migrant justice and the rights of immigrants and refugees? What does it say to those people? What does it say to so many marginalized people that are concerned about a conservative government? And it says that Elizabeth May either doesn't care about you or doesn't care about you enough to make your issues a priority. And this is the trouble of the Green Party. They want to simultaneously own the climate justice agenda. They want to be the Green Party, not only the capital G Green Party, but the small g Green Party. They want to be the party of all things green. Yet they also don't want to be seen as a single issue party and therefore either blind or ignorant on the other issues. But when you make a statement like this, you're signaling to Liberal and NDP and even a lot of Green voters that you're willing to sell out other forms of progressiveness and justice for the environment. And that's going to trouble a lot of people. Look, the Green Party maybe feels it can pull conservative votes. And I'm not saying that's impossible, at least over the long term. But polling from Abacus, recent polling, I've talked about this in a recent video, has shown that the Green Party is getting the majority of its support from Liberal and NDP voters. And that if those voters leave the Green Party, they're overwhelmingly likely to go first to the NDP and then to the Liberals, and very, very, very far behind the Liberals is the Conservatives. So the idea that Green Party voters right now are sort of conservative Green switchers, it just doesn't exist. Not right now. Again, maybe in a future election, you could find some of those Green Tories, people who are conservative but concerned about the environment. They might exist, but they don't really right now in sufficient numbers. So you have to wonder, what's Elizabeth May doing here? Is she really going to go to progressives and say, look, Andrew Scheer, he's going to keep the carbon tax, and he's going to be a bit more environmentally friendly, so unions are going to get gutted? Or, there's going to be an attack on women's reproductive rights. But sorry, there's the carbon tax is safe, no big deal. Or Indigenous people, I know that you wanted reconciliation, but, Andrew Scheer said that we would keep the carbon tax, so, that's not part of the deal. Andrew Scheer's prime minister, and no reconciliation for you. This is the trouble of this approach. And maybe this wasn't Elizabeth May's intent. Maybe it wasn't her intent to imply that she would adopt a conservative agenda on everything excepting climate. But that's what it sounds like. That's what it really sounds like. It sounds like she's willing to sell out everyone for the environment. And that's a stereotype that really hurts the Green Party. Because the Green Party has this image from the right that they're kooky, hippie leftists who want to destroy the economy through their environmental, justice. But from the left, they get a lot of criticism that says, well, they care about the environment, but they don't care about workers or Indigenous people or women or people of color or any other kind of justice. And, they'll do whatever they can to protect rich environmentalists and their pristine coastal communities and beautiful communities, and they won't do anything for the average working class and marginalized person. They don't actually care about them. As long as the environment is good, the working class can go suck an egg. And again, whether that's the actual intent of the Green Party or not, this is how it comes off. 100%. Now, I know Greens will come to me and they'll say, well, if you read our platform, we actually talk about a lot of issues, and I don't deny that. Their platform talks about these things, although Indigenous people and workers have been very concerned about the blind spots in their platform. But the reality is that you put the platform aside when you're willing to say to Andrew Scheer, if you compromise on the environment, we'll compromise on everything else. Will we see an Elizabeth May-backed conservative government attack the fundamental human rights of Canadians? At this point right now, I can't say no. I can't say yes, but I can't say no. If somebody made the claim that, Elizabeth May is going to team up with Andrew Scheer, and in exchange for keeping the carbon tax and some environmental policy, she will sell out the charter rights of women and minorities and workers, I can't say that's a lie. I can't. That's what this article suggests, that Elizabeth May is willing to sell out everybody to work with Andrew Scheer, as long as he compromises on only one plank of justice. No matter how important that plank is, it's unacceptable. But there's an alternative. There's a party out there that, one, has a much greater chance of holding the balance of power, and two, contains a desire to fight for both social and economic and environmental justice. And that's the NDP. The NDP is the only party with a genuine Green New Deal for all Canadians. It's not just for the environmental elite, and it's not just for the rich, and it's not just for working people even. It's for everyone. It's for marginalized people. It's for working class people. It's for people in both urban and rural areas. It's for people concerned about both jobs and the environment. It's a plan for everybody but the economic and social elite who have benefited from the broken status quo. The plan's not for them, but it's for the 99%. That's where you can get environmental progressivism without having to adopt Scheer's platform on everything else. So if you want to talk about the progressive way forward in a minority parliament, you need to ensure the NDP holds the balance of power. Because the NDP has made some conditions clear. The NDP wants movement on climate justice and economic justice. They want a guarantee of support for electoral reform. Those are the things the NDP wants. But the NDP isn't willing to sell out workers for the environment. They're not willing to sell out women for the environment. They're not willing to sell out refugees and immigrants for the environment. Again, I look forward to Elizabeth May's clarification. Because again, as it stands right now, she really does seem to be saying that Andrew Scheer could be her guy if he compromises just on the environment. But I know, and you guys know, that as important as the environment is, it isn't an isolated issue. And it doesn't matter if he makes a bit of a move on the carbon tax if he sacrifices everything else in the process. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe. Doing so helps to spread the message, to let people know that this is a pretty troubling position from the Green Party. And if you're a Green supporter, maybe you feel attacked right now. That's not necessarily my intent. Maybe you take this and you go to Elizabeth May and you say, Miss May, Liz, I'm a little concerned. I understand that you rank climate issues as the most important issue. I do too. But not at the expense of everything else, absolutely. Not to work with Scheer over everything. And for the same reason, I would appreciate your support on Patreon. Supporting me there helps to bring a progressive lens to YouTube that covers not only theory or American politics, but covers Canadian politics, which is relatively under-examined on this platform, especially from a left-of-center position. So guys, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video.